Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Jermaine. How's everybody this morning?
Good morning, sir.
Good. I am good. Um, boy, controversy.
Rumor has it.
I did get a phone call after the program yesterday.
Uh-oh.
One of my clergy brothers.
Uh-oh.
And so this is what I said to him.
You got a meeting? They called you to a meeting?
No, they're not yet.
Said not yet.
But I did say that even though I do not explicitly extend an invitation, it's usually rolled into the homily. Not so much an invitation as much as take inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Be mindful of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. Controversy.
Well, one thing about you, Keith, man, that I do have to say is, man, you do our cleanup, and just to hear you, go back over things, man. That's very respectable, man. Especially a man that's in your position, because it's a lot of people that look up to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whether you know it or not.
He must be way down on the totem pole.
And so anyway, so that cleanup, I think, like I said, I think anytime you get an opportunity for people to kind of just, like I say, take inventory of themselves, and usually at funerals, that's usually the time. We're mindful of our mortality. And so good. You guys weren't wrong. It's just how we do it. I think it's more style over substance.
Yeah.
I did last night. I was at the Real Talk Mixer. It's the first one of the year where they, celebrate what was done last year with Real Man, Real Talk. And, they're for, where they're thinking about going forward. And I, much to my surprise, received an award.
Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked. Tasha had come up to me and she said, "Don't leave." Okay. So I just thought, because they've been shouting out everybody, but they gave me the MVP, Most Valuable Partner.
Wow.
Kind of go back to the ground floor with them. It started off with Natasha, and then Natasha, Tony Higgins, and then G. And they went to G with the idea, can we do a barbershop talk? It's one of those places where men assemble primarily, in barbershops. As a matter of fact, G was saying that, like a lot of us, and it was real, because I saw this. I began to see this when I was still getting my hair cut back in the 80s. He pointed out that actually I was still getting haircuts up till 95. He pointed out, he said, when we were young, the barbershops were just men.
Yeah.
It was just kind of this space where men could go and, you could talk about anything, everything. And he said, but you see more and more women, bringing their sons. And I kind of thought about, being, my mom being a single mom. My first barbershop I remember going to was Mr. John's over on 5th, like 5th and Wright. But I could walk there. Once my mom took me over there once, showed me where it was, then I would go, and she was pretty cool. And then when we moved up on 5th Street, the college barbershop used to be on Green Bay. So I was in really walking distance to that. So, just going into the barbershops. And then I think about the barbershops that excel, which is, still, I think that's still DJ's barbershop.
Yeah.
But XL was cool because you go in, he'd have either the boxing tapes on or he'd have a movie on, because you're going to be there 3 hours.
You're going to be there or on what was it? It was on North Avenue. Old Man, was it North Avenue or Center? Old Man Jenkins.
Yeah.
Saturday morning.
That was
Center Street. Saturday mornings, man, then you get there 8 o'clock and wouldn't leave about 12, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I got with Walt Jenkins because because they used to be right there off of Teutonia, right where that vacant lot is.
Yeah, Teutonia, just above it, 12, below 12th. No. Between 11th and 12th is where it was.
And
Right.
Santonia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hanson's
Oh,
barbershop.
yeah.
My brother's aunt cut hair at Hanson's barbershop. So yeah, the barbershop is a space where people could go in and you have those conversations, and they're not too much off when you see the movies Barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like real talk when it comes to like barbershops, and so to be able to have that format where men will come in. They brought Kwabena on to become the facilitator, and to have a situation where men can, you can just have real talk, frank talk, not worried about judgment. I think early on, some of the folks thought it was an opportunity, because Black people love preaching, to get up and preach. But no, it should be a dialogue. One of the other things they did too was where it used to be linear, how the seats were arranged, they put it in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the great thing about a circle is it has no beginning, it has no end. If it contrasts, everybody contrasts. If it expands, everybody expands. And so in that whole African tradition of the circle and the community circle, and being able to share things, it was moving because Keon was in the video. And I remember when he came down and he did that Real Man, Real Talk. So that was kind of moving to see him.
Keith, I had the great fortune, if you will, to attend one.
Okay.
And I've only been to one. But I come to find one of my female cousins. She helps out there.
What's your cousin's name?
I can't remember her name. It's my cousin Terry's daughter. What is her name?
So she's not the woman that does Ugly.
No. She's at the table. She helps with the food.
Yeah, I think it's
what is her name?
I don't know her name. I know the group she works with is it's called Ugly.
Quite possibly could be. I just know she's my cousin, but we're not close like that. But we know each other upon sight. But I had the fortune of taking my son, who had recently got out of prison, and some real moving dialogue, if you will, some things that he and I were able to say in that room that we've never said to one another, man. So I know that gathering certainly serves its purpose, and I have every intention of attending again, not necessarily with him, because I really enjoyed the dialogue and the growth that we can find amongst men in that kind of setting. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Having attended one, it's nice. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I can say the mayor has come and sat through and participated in the entire session. David Crowley, as the county executive, has come in. Chief Norman has come in to just to sit there and be part of the conversation. You're right. It's and it's being replicated. A lot of people in the fatherhood work, they do use a barbershop format. Just because of the kind of conversations that you can have. So to be able to experience that, I think it's been 8 years. So shout out to the good folks there. I know Tasha, who is committed to the work. She was catching it because there were some people who didn't think that a Black woman should be leading an organization that is primarily focused on Black men.
Mm-hmm.
But even the people who started, the Milwaukee Fatherhood Collaborative, women were very much involved in that piece. And when the real talk starts, then women leave.
Yep.
Right.
I did notice that too.
Yep. So
they served, they made sure everybody was good, and then they hit that door.
Yep. So it was good, and I was honored, and I was really surprised.
Was that your first honor?
Yeah, I don't. Normally I don't get tributes, and I don't look for them.
Mm-hmm.
They do pay me to do it. This guy was thanking me. He said, "Oh man, I appreciate what you're doing, man." I said, "They pay me to care, right?" But no, I mean,
no, they don't pay you to care.
You should care though if you're getting paid.
Yeah, but that don't make you care.
Yeah, that's
care
true.
About getting your check.
Yep, that's
the
true.
Caring comes from within.
Yeah. So, being able to, and then not being a father makes it very interesting. But my entree into that was child support. That's what that put me in that space.
Mm-hmm.
It's real interesting because child support also put me in the space around in the issues dealing around infant mortality and working with Julia Means and folks like that. So it's been a great opportunity. I mean, I've learned so much. It, it, it just the contact that you have with people. When I first started, and I would go out and do presentations, we do a thing called Child Support 101, and I'd go out and do the presentation. And I think one of the first ones I did was with the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative. And that's when Dennis and Dale and Terrence was there. And oh man, dude introduced me, and he was like, we got this dude here from child support. Like my mama gave me a name, and you can look at the dudes in the room like, dude, we gonna get with you, man. And so
because you're from child support.
I'm from child support, but we ended up getting these fatherhood grants that coincided at the same time we did a name change down to child support, which child support services. And now, every first Monday of the month, my boss, Artist Landons, comes in to talk about the work that's being done at child support, where, it really is a service. And I understand everything that goes around it. So I'm not even going to get into the whole emotional piece, but I've had a chance to talk to well over 10,000 men just doing that presentation, Fatherhood Summit, all these things. I'd be out in the mall sometimes and do baby, that's a child support dude. So I don't know what.
That's the dude that's taking the money out of our household for over there with little Tammy now.
Right, but what's real interesting? I retired from Health and Human Services, and I did AFDC. Well, we gave away. We tried to figure out what you can get. Child support is collection agency, a real different philosophy in terms of I'm trying to figure out everything you could possibly be eligible for on the other side, but then on this side.
I've always revert back, if you will, to when you always say, you would always tell your employees, look, they haven't had all these hours of training that you had, so you cannot expect them to come in here and understand, So, I mean, I'm told that you were one heck of a guy to work under, though.
Know about all of that.
I don't mean in a good way either. No, I'm just kidding.
Some of my former co-workers are listening to the program. They probably have some very, very, very different stories.
Different view.
Very different view. Let me, and this is so crazy. I cannot pronounce this woman's last name, but I went to see Michelle. Indiocello. Oh my God. I'm
jealous.
Oh my God.
I told you. I knew what that was going to be.
I'm jealous, man.
Yeah, she did. I know she had been traveling. She was down in Waukegan a couple of months ago. She's doing this whole thing where she's using the works of James Baldwin as inspiration for her music. And oh man, just to hear, first of all, there are so many talented musicians in the world. I mean, these people are not rich, they're not renowned, but man, aren't they good. This brother, she played acoustical guitar, the keyboardist. This dude did Fender Rhodes, he did synthesizers, he did B3 organ. Oh man, this dude was cold. The drummer.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it was.
And me and Jermaine came down there, and they said our names wasn't at the.
Yeah, man. We thought you was gonna lead a back door propped open, man.
My bad, man.
Man, we was out there like, Keith, come on.
I'm only be thinking about one person.
Yourself.
Guess what? He wouldn't answer his text or nothing, man. I mean, it was like.
But one of the she did this song, and there was a line from the song that stuck with me. Said that everybody's down for the struggle until the struggle starts.
Oh,
that was deep. I was like, oh man.
yeah.
And she has a a lot of queer folks that follow.
Yeah.
That's big fans of hers.
Yeah.
So it was really an eclectic group of people who came to hear.
Yeah.
But man,
did she do Who Is He and What Is He to You?
No, she did not. She didn't do Outside Your Door, which is crazy because she grew up in a neighborhood that I knew 3 people from, Oxon Hill in Prince George's County.
Was that in D.C.?
Yeah, right outside D.C. She was at Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and then I think she went to, I think it's Oxon Hill High School now, used to be Friendly, there in Prince George's County. And this little piece I missed. She used to be the bass player for Rare Essence.
I don't recall that, but she played with some heavy hitters, man.
Yeah, but so she was down with Go-Go. Anybody understand the DC scene?
Go-Go, yeah.
Rare Essence,
Yeah.
Chuck Brown, who did the Butt? EU. Yeah. So she was with Rare Essence. So I was wondering, I wonder if she gonna do any Go-Go. She didn't do any Go-Go, no. Go-Go.
That would maybe not have been the room for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think she could have did whatever she wanted to do in terms of what she was able to control. And it really is very complex music.
And by the way, was it the old Shank Hall?
No. This venue is across the street from Pizza Shuttle. You know where that George Webb's, and that used to be in that area. And it's a concert venue right there.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I know they got Pizza Shuttle, they got Domino's over there.
Right, it was right across the street.
It's right across the street?
Well, you remember what the George Webb's used to be? Used to be a George Webb's right there on Farm.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the east side of the street.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
Oh.
Yeah, the Vivarium.
So is that a new venue?
Yes, it's run through the Paps Group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
they running everything now, though, aren't they? They got Riverside,
they got
all that down.
That's
there.
why they were very upset about them building that concert event space right there near Pfizer,
right?
Yeah, by Pfizer, yeah.
So that's gonna be like the entertainment district or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And it's enough money out here for everybody. They're gonna get theirs.
Yeah, and I mean, people like a good show. I mean,
nothing
like good music and a real good show. So,
well, they can cut the check.
Cut that check.
CTC, baby.
There you go.
Cut the check.
Cash rules everything around me. If it
dollar bill.
If it don't make dollars,
it don't make sense.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money, providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the New Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are the New Pitts Mortuary.
welcome back. Welcome back with Inside Be Healthy Be You, Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. How's everybody?
Great. What a difference a week make.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that this morning. Last
That's
week,
right.
I'm like, I don't want to leave my house. It was so cold.
Nook of the North, right? You had that fur coat on.
She did, head to toe.
Fur coat. I heard about that fur coat and hat last week. I actually saw it, but a few folks called in.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You look really warm last
Peter
week.
didn't call in, did they?
No. You, Peter.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, man. Pete out there waiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He'll be waiting.
See Julia thrown in a van. Where's she going?
They'll throw paint.
Yeah.
They'll throw paint
Red
on
paint
you.
on you.
Yeah.
But yes, you need your fur coat in the, what was it, 20 below?
Wind chill.
Wind chill, it was 30 below wind chill.
Okay.
Yeah, last week was cold.
Oh.
And does it really make a difference? You really feel the difference between that and any other coat that you would have on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, it's like having a blanket on.
Especially like when the hawk is whipping up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an older one, so it was thick and heavy.
Mm.
So it was.
So
The newer ones are.
I was gonna say you didn't wear your newer one. You just had on your older one last week.
I had my older one. I have a newer one, and it's much lighter and frilly. But yeah, that one is for the hawk.
Yeah.
I heard that hat that you had on was at least $2,000. Just a hat.
He's setting you up to get robbed.
I-
That's right.
No, I'm not. No.
You got that? You ain't got no money. Yeah. But,
That's right. Spending all
But then
that.
that precipitated Jermaine to talk about when he was
oh yeah, and his
fur coat
shoes
in
and
the sob.
yeah, men do have really nice ones. I saw this one man at a funeral, and it just fit him perfect. It was nice. I'm like, I like your coat. He's like,
Yeah, well,
well,
Frank Lucas learned the hard way.
Yeah. Why you buy that coat?
Yeah, he wear fur coat. Yeah, wear fur
Ooh.
coat. Frank Lucas. What is it, American Gangster?
Yeah.
But he went to the Ali Frazier fight. His wife had bought him like this nice
I
fur.
remember that. It was a specific fur.
Yeah, and they put him.
Chinchilla.
Yeah.
Which
And
was
put him on the radar because they're going like, who's in? I didn't know he was a baller.
Mhm.
And once I was watching this thing, it was they call them scandals in sports, and it was called A Need for Weed, which was a play on a need for speed.
Mhm.
And what it was, there was this guy named Randy Lanier, which is interesting. I knew a Randy Lanier, late Randy Lanier, and he just fell in love with auto racing. But he was also one of the biggest weed dealers in America, in the early 70s. And it talks about how he, NASCAR, not NASCAR, but when he was doing the IndyCar, that cost a whole lot of money,
Mhm.
right? That's why you want sponsorships. So the amount of weed this dude was moving to support,
His race car.
right. But then, like a lot of people, you talk to a lot of ex-drug dealers, they'll tell you a lot of times it ain't the money, it's the game.
Mm-hmm.
The thrill that you
Sure,
get,
the adrenaline.
right,
Mhm.
that you get from it. And so, because he had more than enough money. But it's always, I guess at some point, I don't know any drug dealer who has not been touched, been able to walk away.
Mhm.
A lot of people say I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna quit. But like I said, it's everything it gives you. I mean, it gives you entree into spots, and everybody's paying attention to you.
Sure,
and
power.
power. You could buy anything. And the guy came from, I think he was from the Roanoke, Virginia area. So he said he grew up dirtball poor.
Oh, yeah.
So when you got a chance to be able to, but then there's the satisfaction I think we get psychologically from buying this temporary, because a lot of times people don't realize that purchasing can be an addiction.
Oh, most definitely. I think they learned that with Amazon.
Mm.
You know, some people, they have 3, 4 packages show up at their door every day.
And back in the day when you'd be up late at night and they'd have all those offers.
Oh yeah, like
Wasn't that BET Church? Wasn't that one of them? Who let the dogs out? Or who let the gate open? Right.
I hated that. Well, Corey, that dude used to wake me up.
Let's do a little health update. And you all have called it. I think in Milwaukee County, they've shown that about 8% of hospitalizations now is influenza.
Mm-hmm.
It has just spiked.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, what they said in December, the number of cases, and then January has just blown through the roof. I know a lot of people that have, told me they've gone to the ER for various reasons, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, actually, at church on Sunday, a couple asked me to give them a flu shot. So, because I had said, you know what, the flu is real, and you need to get your shot. If you haven't gotten your shot, I still have vaccine, and I can give you a shot. So, and I'm saying that out to our radio audience. You still can get protected. We do have vaccines, and just come on down to Ebenezer. I'll give you a shot. I'm there on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But flu is very dangerous, and then especially if you already got respiratory disease,
asthma or anything like that,
you're more susceptible for it. And then they're saying now that TB is on a rise. They were saying on Good Morning America this morning that TB is higher than it ever has been in the recent years. As nurses, we used to have to get TB shots annually, and then all of
get the
TB
checks
tests annually. And then they said the disease is so low, you don't have to get tested. But now
How is tuberculosis spread?
It's airborne.
Airborne.
Droplets.
It used to be when you worked for the city, they would send you over to the Johnson Health Clinic.
Yeah.
Oh no! And then you'd also go down to Howard. It was something there with you'd have to do the test.
You do the
skin test, the blotch.
Put that little thing in you. But nurses used to get TB a lot from patients that were hospitalized with it. I know I had several friends that got TB. So that it's a special room that they put you in.
A negative pressure room, so that instead of like in your regular rooms, the air flows like into the hallways from the room. But when you're on negative pressure, it sucks it in and up through a different vent where it's treated and then released into the air.
Yeah. Brenda knows all about that.
That was my job for many, many years. So yeah.
I had mentioned early on that we probably just talked about the vaccination for influenza. We're probably looking at a possible the health impact of people not being vaccinated. We're talking about for rubella, chicken pox, measles. So I don't know if we can emphasize the importance of people just, hate to sound, you sound like a dog, getting your shots, but certainly for children.
Yes.
And we know it works because so many of those diseases we have pretty much eliminated, and we know it works. But you always have the anti-vaxxers that don't want you getting vaccines, and that's why we are unable to totally eliminate some of these diseases. But TB, we had it licked.
In this part of the world. Other countries where obviously TB, chicken, all that stuff is more active. We have eradicated or controlled them in the United States through the vaccines. But now when you have people that are unvaccinated, and then let's say you have people come from travel from another country that aren't symptomatic yet, which is in the last 20 years, that's where most of our TB cases came from was, because you don't necessarily show symptoms. It can be years before you show symptoms. They would come over and then would not symptomatic. And then eventually they'd get, and they'd contaminate their household. They'd spread it to neighbors. And that's really the only spread we were having in the United States was from people coming over from another country. But now we're seeing more spread within the country.
It's on the rise. And people who are old Milwaukeeans would remember Murdale, where if you had TB, you had to go live out on the county grounds. Mm-hmm. They isolated you. And we had whole TB hospitals.
Yeah, just hospitals.
So you went out there to keep you from contaminating or spreading.
They're called sanitariums. Right?
Sanitariums. And really, mostly they were places where people went to die. For most people.
I know they did detox at the, I think it's the Notre Dame. I don't know if it's Notre Dame, School Sisters Notre Dame. But right on Mitchell Boulevard there's a big but a big convalescent center there. It would be like Greenfield.
Oh, on
Mitchell,
Greenfield,
like 27th Street.
On Greenfield and Layton Boulevard. Yeah, that's
Layton,
School Sisters of St. Francis.
Yeah, and so I think they did a sanitarium, but they also were known for their detoxing. Mm-hmm. So you can go in before they tore down. I used to go in because there were people that I had to meet out there, and you could see like the celebrities who had come in.
It used to be a place where people came from all over the world. This is the old Sacred Heart building, where people used to come from all over the world. It was kind of like a respite spa, where you got the best of everything. Yeah, it was world known.
Because they had an equestrian tech. They had horses. But, you had people then. I think they could have done that. But I know that they certainly did detox in terms of the people there. So, but I there is some talk now that America might pull out of the World Health Organization. Medical experts are very concerned about that possibility for a lot of different reasons. One of them being, like, for example, flu usually starts in Australia, right? And so there would be information that you would need to have. That if that information is not being exchanged, you can come in and we could just have what would be a strain of flu that we're not prepared
for. As well as they set standards for vaccinations. They provide mutual aid, basically support to other countries that are, having outbreaks or things like that. So yeah, it would be challenging, problematic if we're no longer a part of who they provide a lot of support. They even support, even as far as civil rights, in that everybody has equal access to vaccines.
Civil rights, that's gone.
No, I know, but that's part of that was part of whose role, in health equity and stuff. That's part of whose role. And so you don't even have that as a cheerleader.
No, you don't.
Yeah, and we don't think about it. I mean, the problem sometimes is when you have people who think they know but don't know, you're putting a lot of people at risk. I
have faith, though. I have faith that, what the Democratic leaders were saying, we're not going. That don't mean we're not going to continue to fight, and try to figure out ways to go around a lot of this stuff. And I just think that we have enough people that are smart enough that can help us endure these dark days.
Yeah, and I think the whole idea of other has real impact, because people think like, hey, it ain't me, and
it's a lot of people.
It's a lot, and
like
and we're just 2 years, 3 years removed from a global pandemic. you would hope that people would kind of get a sense of the importance and the idea. Belief can get you in trouble sometimes. When we're talking about like real fact, and so I'm concerned about that little piece of things. The World Health Organization, things like that. If there's an outbreak of some virus or some disease, usually these are the people then who will do the bulletin, right, to let the medical.
Well, sure, and again, provide support, financial support, all of that to the people who are into those countries that are suffering that. So.
Yeah, I this idea of healthcare being a human justice issue. I think that as advanced as we've become in terms of medical technology, medical advancements, all the things. There's a documentary either on Netflix, I think, where they're making the argument that cancer could have been cured a long time ago. But it's something that Chris Rock said. He said the money is not in the cure, it's in the treatment. And because there's all these different things and how the big pharma, you're not necessarily looking for a cure because you make so much money from treatment. And how now we have made advancements in terms of our ability to combat cancer, mitigate, the intake. It's not, as you said, not necessarily a death sentence.
No,
now to have cancer,
now.
Right?
It's still scary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think, it is very scary. I just, and it gets frustrating because there's a reason why sometimes government, I think, has a compelling interest to step into a situation where collectively it can be very damaging if government does not. It's like protective services, the fact that they have the power to go in and pull children out of very dangerous, abusive situations. Now there are people who have, that's government overreach, but then what we're going to ask, where's the government if that child dies? Who wasn't there a social worker assigned to that case? And so government does have a role. I don't know what message is sending. This is Keith, not Julia, not Brenda. When people who are separated from the military for not taking the COVID-19 vaccine, and now they're going to be allowed to rejoin and in some instances get back pay. And I don't know how to feel about that in terms of, you might have had, people's fear about the vaccine was pretty much unfounded, in terms of when we look at the actual results. And then I don't know how in the military, an order is an order. You can't say no to an order in the military. So the fact that people were going out, and then, it's a lot of that. A lot goes into that in terms of just the idea. So I am a proponent of vaccinations. Though I have not got COVID. I haven't got my COVID vaccination yet.
Oh, this year?
Yeah,
COVID
but
vaccination?
COVID looks
I got mine. It's pretty bad too.
It's pretty bad too.
It's in the water.
It's in the water.
They check it,
right.
And they can tell. I don't want people to think it's in the water. They check it and they can tell from the wastewater how much COVID is in the city,
in the community.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's very high.
Are we? Are we? Even though we do vaccinations for COVID, are we building a herd immunity to COVID?
Well, I mean, we are. However, every time somebody gets COVID, then it has the ability to mutate, which is what we can't keep up with. So when people continually get it, it mutates, and then it's harder to treat, and you might not have as much immunity to it because it's found a way to get around that. So That's the problem with, even people that are getting it that aren't very ill. The more you get it, the more it mutates.
And I know several people that have had it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to get it, but they don't do the vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the vaccination works because where we were and where we are now, we know that it
Mm-hmm.
diminished people from dying
Mm-hmm.
who took the vaccine.
Yeah.
And I mean, all those who were leery about it, they could see that we didn't grow a third ear,
Right.
you know.
Part of the issue too is before we pushed the vaccine and it was easily accessible. Now you have to look for a place to go that your insurance will cover it. Because if you have insurance, there's very few options for people that are uninsured. Whereas before, of course, we're trying to get it out there to everybody. The vaccine was covered by the federal government and it was free. Even last year, they had a carryover program where, some people, you could even go to Walgreens and you met that criteria, you still got it. Well, that's totally gone now. So unless you have insurance, you have to look really hard to find a place that you can get it. And it's not a cheap vaccine. It's a couple $100. Around in that area, give or take. So that makes it hard for people. And, we have a lot of people that don't have the ability to just hop up and go to a place that's across town if that's the only place giving it. They might not have transportation. And when we were bringing it to everybody's neighborhood, that was different. So it's hard.
Yeah. So we will, and I know you guys, I don't know if you're epidemiologists, but so when we had about 30,000 influenza deaths a year, that was considered pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
We be kind of looking at the same way in terms of COVID, where we're doing 30,000 now as opposed to when we were in the height of the pandemic. Where we knew hundreds of thousands of folks have died. So in a given year, if you do 30,000, that's
still high.
It's still high.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Any time you're in the thousands of people dying from vaccine preventable diseases is 30,000 that didn't have to die. And Brenda said it is kind of difficult, but if you have Medicare, Medicaid, you can get the vaccine. And a lot of people don't realize that. And maybe if you do have insurance, some places we buy a lot of stuff that's expensive.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think, Medicare and Medicaid will and most people have one of those, Medicare and Medicaid. So they do pay for it. It's those that small group of people that does not have that, or they're, underinsured. And of course, a lot of those people are some of our poorest people.
And who are already probably dealing with other comorbidities already, right?
Who need it the most. And then there are some programs that are giving them out. Because I know Erica, they were giving some of the COVID vaccine out for free. Some places did have grant money to give out COVID vaccine for that very population, because at the time it was a civil right that people get vaccines that they can't afford.
Well, because we American society has a compelling interest in making sure that I guess now with the proliferation of social media, we always had a certain level of yellow journalism. Goes back to William Randolph Hearst and what he would do. But part of it is that you can put information out there and no one is fact checking the information. And people are going to take it, well, I read it in Google.
Yeah.
So
it was on the internet, so
it was
it's
on
true.
the internet, so it's true. And then what happens is that we end up having these outbreaks. I'm really concerned about some of these more insulated communities, like the Hasidic Jewish communities, where they're not doing vaccinations. And I think that I know in one area they had. Now we all carry herpes, right?
If we had chicken pox, right? That's a
Okay,
herpes virus, and a lot. I like
cold
the
sores.
majority of the population has had exposed to herpes type 1, which is cold sores.
Yeah, they had an outbreak of that, but then they had an outbreak of measles in those
Brenda know all
communities.
about that.
Yeah, sure did. I got involved in that particular a particular community that was being exposed to measles, and Nancy and I got involved with that, and we're vaccinating people. So yeah, there are pockets of individuals that don't have vaccines, and then and for a lot of people, I mean, religious reasons they believe may say why they can't be vaccinated, but what we're seeing in the country now is just people just period choosing not to get vaccinated. And so, if my child doesn't get vaccinated, they think, oh, it's no big deal. They'll get measles. If they get measles, well, measles is a big deal. I mean, it can leave them sterile. It can kill them. It can leave them deaf. It can leave them blind. Measles is not like chickenpox. Measles is, and it's airborne. So, it's not like I got to touch you or be close to you. It's airborne. So, that makes that a disease. And if your child gets measles, and let's say they do well, but then they expose grandma or grandpa who maybe even had measles, but there is no when we look at vaccines, they're not 100%, right? We depend on the vaccines and disease getting to that portion where the majority of the population is protected. But that doesn't mean, especially somebody who's got a chronic disease or immunocompromised, can't still get that disease if they're exposed to it.
Their army is a little weaker.
Mm-hmm.
So their ability to be able to fight that disease is compromised.
So it can put a lot of people at risk.
And like pregnant women, they tend to do titers on them. They do a level to see if they have enough of the vaccine or the ability to fight measles in them, because a pregnant woman with measles is very dangerous. So you're thinking about, you're exposing all these people. You go on an airplane and you're full of people. It's full of people. They have measles.
Yeah, chicken pox.
Hope your titer is high.
Yeah, chicken pox can be very dangerous to a pregnant woman.
Yes. So
and a lot of times we're walking around and we're asymptomatic, right? We're not even showing symptoms, but at the same time we're spreading.
Yeah, because I remember when I had my last child, they told me, they said, we got to give you a measles shot before you leave here because your titer is low. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, so they check you when you get ready to leave the hospital. I mean,
a few years ago at the hospital, Employee Health checked my titers because of my age and where I fell in, and I did not have enough mumps. So they did go ahead and required me to get a fourth MMR, which I was happy to take. But I wasn't expecting that, went in for something else. They're like, yeah, we're just going to draw a little blood and check. And so then had to get enough, but I'm grateful that they did, because mumps, measles, there's not things you want.
And all that is the part of the system that's overseeing all of this. And if we don't have those systems, like we were talking about, that puts us all at risk for even the prevention. They prevent a lot because they'll notice that people in this age group are starting to have these symptoms, so they check them.
Or like you said, Keith, not just the flu, but where we're seeing, increases in TB or polio or things. And what parts of the country or the world are we starting to see increases in that? Looking at restricting travel like they did during COVID in those places where you have, all of that is a part of that system.
Yeah, a little too late though, because by that time they had closed, the people were already here.
Right.
So
yeah, well, we didn't know we didn't know there was anything going on.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I have a question about vaccinations. Now, I'm 65 years old, so I've had those measles, mumps, and all those, 60 some years ago. How effective is vaccinations as you get older? Do I need to be revaccinated for some of those illnesses?
I think that's a great question to ask your doctor. There are certain age groups, and not necessarily just because that you're 65, but there are certain age groups that they're looking at now that they're seeing that the vaccine has either waned or they don't have enough protection. And so,
Hmm.
like what Julia was talking about, they can draw blood and look and see, it's called a titer, and that tells them how effective those vaccines are still in your body. And if they are still good, then no need. But if not, then they just give you an updated vaccination. So, but there are certain age groups where they're seeing that maybe that you might need a titer. You might need another shot, but your doctor can just draw blood and look at it and see if that's necessary for you, or even if they know based on what the recommendation for your age is, whether or not you need to have an updated vaccine.
Oh, okay. Because I have grandchildren. I'm not healthy, thank the Lord, but I'm very healthy. But as I know, my immunity, my ability to fight off things is going to get lower and lower.
Mhm.
So I'm just worried about, getting sick when that could be prevented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely talk to your doctor about it. And then, some of the practices that we did during COVID, if your grandchildren are sick, you want to be more careful with hand washing, wiping things down, and,
Sure,
that kind of stuff if you're around
sure.
them, for long periods of time, especially, or even sometimes having to wear a mask, but just based on what's going on.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being in good health and caring about your health and having a primary doctor. You are doing what you're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you should be okay.
I saw it. I'm hoping. Let me get the catalog of what happened with this woman. She survived the Holocaust. She survived Chernobyl.
Mm,
She survived COVID-19, and she got hit by a truck.
you always talking about
No,
it.
but that's real. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, oh man,
But she would have
Did
been,
she live?
but
I think she did.
yeah, but she's not. And she died too. Yeah.
But she had to be pretty
And you
old
know
too.
what?
Was
She's
she?
not
Yeah.
alive anymore.
No,
either.
wow.
What is?
Wow.
What you say?
You know how we get on our.
She says she's dead and she's not alive
Yeah,
anymore.
she's not alive anymore. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
lived a long time.
Yeah, she
But
did.
had it not been, but she survived each one of those. So, that's right. She could have
What a
died a long
car.
time ago with each and every one of those, but she
Yeah.
didn't.
Well,
She
but
probably would have
it
preferred
also
to.
speaks to a certain randomness of
Randomness,
life.
yes.
Yeah, that you
Yep.
can do all that. So I'll get in the best shape of my life, and then get run over by a bus.
Yeah. Leaving the gym,
Yep.
stepping out leaving the gym.
Picked the wrong day to quit smoking. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Quick question. Uh, there's some kind of bug going around. Um, it, it, well, I think I got it. I got to get these hot flashes, scratchy throat, uh, blocked nose, nostrils, nose, headaches,
Mm.
went to urgent care. They gave me some ibuprofen and Tylenol and what else? So for something, but it looked like those castor oil pills or those fish pills, the clear fish pills.
Are they for your cough?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those little pearls they are. Mm-hmm.
But I got this like Saturday. Went over to Illinois, and when I got back that evening, just was having these horrible headaches. Is it something going around right now?
Oh yeah, because I can tell you, I think I had exactly what you have. Yeah, I mean, very stuffy. Just cold. Just back and forth. I necessarily wasn't running a fever, but my body was definitely being invaded by something. Yeah, and felt yucky. Throat was not sore, but not right. A little bit of nausea.
Yeah.
There's so many viruses going around right now, not including, flu, COVID, RSV. There's just so many things going around right now. So, antibiotics for those viruses don't really do anything for it. So you just treat the symptoms, those little pearls they gave you for the cough, stay hydrated. And hopefully you'll get better. Now, if you notice that you're getting worse, you go back in because sometimes these viral things can, you can still get like a sinus infection from it or something like that. The good thing, most of it is all upper respiratory. You're probably not, your lungs and stuff aren't really involved. So, but yeah, it may take you a while, a week or so, but if you get worse, that's when you want to go back in.
We want to tell you that urgent care is what it says, urgent care. And it'll take care of you the right now symptoms. If you can make an appointment with your primary care and your primary care doctor knows you, and he will follow up. He or she would follow up more than what urgent care would do. But we need urgent care because you must have been feeling pretty bad if you went there. So it's okay to go to urgent care.
Okay, I wasn't feeling so. It was just the sweat and like
yeah.
my body was fighting something, and it was weird because I just wet. It looked like I just wet the bed. I was sweating. I feel like I lost some weight in the process, but I feel better today.
Oh, good. I was gonna say because you sound like you were pretty sick.
Yeah, don't overdo it though.
Yeah,
still take care of yourself. Allow your body to fight it, and make an appointment with your primary so he can follow up on you.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually the ERs, will, even if they don't tell you, they have it printed on the paper to follow up with your primary care doctor.
Yeah.
That way they can just make sure everything is still going. You're not getting any secondary infections or anything like that.
Okay.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. I would say a lot of people between the flu and the norovirus have had to go to the hospital and get IV fluids. They've been so sick. This is the first year in a long time that I've known people, friends that have gotten the flu that have been like sick, that have never really had the flu, but have been in the bed a week and a half, 2 weeks, that they felt so weak and really can't get around. And that norovirus, which is the stomach one with the nausea and vomiting and the diarrhea, usually if that hits one in the household, it's hitting everybody.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question. Now,
can you turn your radio down?
Yes, sir. Okay, that's better.
Yep.
Okay, so me myself, whatever virus was out here, I did catch, and I nursed myself because I just don't believe in going to the hospitals anymore because every time I do get real sick and I go, they don't do anything for me. And it's just because I don't know, it's just because of the insurance I have, you know, but the other people, they get the right proper treatment and I don't. So that just deteriorated me from going to hospitals altogether because I felt some kind of way because I wasn't getting treated properly. So I don't go to hospitals at all anymore. I have a doctor that I do see and talk to, but going to the hospital, if I'm real sick, I ain't going to be able to do it because I don't like the treatment that I'm not receiving.
I'm sorry to hear that. Um, you feel like you being discriminated against, or like talk?
Yeah, because the last time I went out to Freighter, if it wasn't for this black nurse helping me and telling me, you know, because it was another guy that wasn't my color sick, and they was giving him all the attention. She came to me and said, "Listen, I'm gonna give you what you need because that's not right for them to treat you that way." That's when I stopped going,
Oh,
and that's been a minute. But I mean, it's ridiculous that we have to suffer because of the way that the world is today.
All right. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brenda, Julia.
Good morning.
I'm calling because I just got discharged from the hospital from having COVID and pneumonia.
Oh.
My symptoms were shortness of breath, and it started about like the top of the year. And, you know, I have a grade school son who they had the walking pneumonia going around, and my husband is a teacher. So I've been used to just things flying in and out of the home.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had the shortness of breath, I got diagnosed. They said, a sinus infection. They gave you some amoxicillin and a inhaler and said, be about your way. But the shortness of breath never stopped. I went back to the doctor, and when I tell you, you can't even walk from like your car to the door or from your room to the restroom, something was going on. So he was about to diagnose me again with asthma and some more steroids or something. And I looked at the doctor and I said, "Doctor, something's not right. My history doesn't have asthma. I just don't feel well." And I feel like I got a hole in my chest or something. So long story short, he said, "Go over to the ER right now so they can check you for a blood clot or a lung infection or something." And those people helped me. And they did the CT scans, the chest x-rays, the EKGs and all of that. So you're nervous, and then it comes back and say, "You got COVID with pneumonia." My question, and I stayed from Thursday to Sunday, and like I said, was just charged, and I'm at home now. I just took my last antibiotic for the pneumonia, and I got a couple of COVID steroids left in there.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, and my follow-up appointment is this Friday, people don't talk about how the mental effect, I know you guys are talking about, canceling our WHO involvement and things like that, but we don't talk enough about the mental part of this, because all I can see and go through now is, how did I get that? I'm vaccinated. We do a really good job of making sure we are clean and things like that, but how do you get things where, I guess I'm trying to explain the mental part. Like, I'm scared of what happens if I get it again, or what if I was a smoker or had COPD. It's just a lot to be concerned about, and all I can think about now is, how do I prevent this again? But I guess there's no way to do it. My message is more of, COVID is still out here. Vaccines are very helpful, and now I'm sitting here thinking, I gotta make sure I get vaccinated every time something comes out now. And I'm always, suspicious of people now and things like that. It's just, again, the mental side is just very draining on the person. So just thank you for listening to my testimony. I'm glad that I'm okay, but COVID is still real. Pneumonia is still real. And we just got, I guess, stay prayed up and keep listening and educating ourselves.
Sound like you did everything right. A lot of times we have a certain amount of shame or embarrassment
Yes.
when we have a disease. And I know when I got breast cancer and got it twice, you feel like, why? What did I do to
Nothing.
deserve
Right.
this?
Right.
Why? Why me? But you you sound like you knew how to advocate for yourself. You were able to get it diagnosed, and you got rid of it.
It's like you said, why me? It's like shame, embarrassing. Now I go back to work. People know I've been off, and I'm looking at the company mad, like you guys took away all the PPE and the Clorox wipes and all this. Like this is still real out here,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I know I'll eventually get over it, Brenda and Julia. But boy, when I tell you a wake up call, just in regards to if we all, be responsible, play our part. You're thinking about this clown that's in the office that's trying to take away all the health benefits and things like that. Look, what is so hard about just being educated and involved in it? I don't know. Yeah, yes. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you for all you do on the weeks that you're in the studio. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, and like Julia said, she did everything right. This year particularly is just rough. I mean, this has been a really rough fall and winter for respiratory viruses. And getting your vaccine doesn't mean you won't get it. Hopefully, what it means is it'll lessen the burden on your body. I've had COVID twice, and I get every vaccine that comes out. The second time was not as bad. The first time kind of kicked my butt a little bit, but you do, and people kind of look at you like, oh, did you get your vaccine, or what did what were, yeah, right, it's like you got the plague, and people laugh at me because when I go like
it
grocery.
really was a plague.
Yes. Well, I mean, but they look like I'm going to kill them. Just and well, in the beginning, maybe that especially if you're immunocompromised or had other underlying conditions. But people laugh at me. But I keep masks they're in my bag in my car when I'm like in the grocery store where I still wear a mask, and people are like, I can't believe you do that. Well, I went for 2 years without having anything, not a cold, not a stuffy nose, because we diligently wore our masks and washed our hands, and like she said, bleach and hand sanitizer was everywhere. Now you're right. Sometimes you go in places and there's not even any hand soap. So you can carry stuff around with you, but people kind of do look at you. Go on the airplane, there's always a certain amount of people that wear masks. I wear a mask on the airplane. Some people are like, why are you doing that? Because you know what, I'm doing everything possible. I've had it twice. I really don't want it again, or any of these respiratory illnesses going around, but none of them are 100% preventable.
And we do have to think about the emotional part that people carry when they get an illness. You understand that.
Yeah, I think, and sometimes you just get sick and tired of being sick.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I think the psychological toll sometimes, illness. I mean, we talk about physically, but you not being what you thought you were prior to the onset of that, may be pretty difficult.
Go ahead.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Good. Well, good morning to everybody there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a question. I heard you talking earlier about TB.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been hearing a lot of people having constant coughs. And they have no other symptoms. And I just wonder, if they go to the doctor, what other tests besides that skin test do they test for TB?
They chest X-rays. They can do chest X-rays too. That will let you know. But and like our caller before you said, she got a chest X-ray because they thought maybe she had a clot in her lungs. But yeah, a constant cough. But you don't feel good when you have TB. It's more than just a cough.
So what is it? And I think this was the caller's kind of asking about people who you see have chronic coughs.
You know, chronic coughs can be caused by many, many things. And during this time of the year, allergies, postnasal drip. If you've had bronchitis or anything respiratory, the disease might be over, but you might cough for another 5-6 weeks. That's normal. But our coughs, like I said, can be, you got a little bit of a runny nose, it's running down the back of your throat, causes you to cough. This time, allergies are terrible. So, underlying other health issues, if you've got a chronic cough that doesn't go away and this is new and you don't have anything else going on, it's a good thing to see your doctor about that, because there are other medical conditions that can cause a chronic cough too.
As I was sitting here, I'm sorry. Go ahead, caller. I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying, oh, okay. I just go ahead.
Yeah, I can remember when we smoked inside. And then when we went to the prohibition of smoking inside, the air quality really improved indoors. But now we have these air fresheners.
Yes, air fresheners, candles, all of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and so that can contribute probably to.
Oh, most definitely. I can be normal and walk into a TJ Maxx by the perfume section, and I'm just going to start sneezing and getting stuffy immediately. I don't know what all I'm allergic to, but definitely there are some scents that are a big trigger for me. And then once that happens again, you get stuffy, and then you get a little postnasal drip, and that can lead to coughing. So
yeah, and they realize that because remember in the stores they used to spray you.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. People are having anaphylactic reactions when they get sprayed.
I have a seriously adverse reaction to incense. And in the nail shops.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, all of the nail technicians are wearing masks. Why don't I have one? But I have to ask for a mask when I go.
Remember when the Bassner people would come in and they said nothing to worry about. Well, if there's nothing to worry about, why you have a mask on? I'm just hazmat. I mean, if there's nothing for me to worry about, but you all masked up, I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you for the TV thing.
Good question.
Just one
really
quick
good
question. Is there any other symptoms that, besides coughing, that would be visible?
With tuberculosis.
Oh yeah, yellowing of the eyes, the skin, extremely tired, nausea, fever, nausea, and vomiting.
Yellowing of the eyes with hepatitis too.
Well, yeah, any kind of liver issue, liver, gallbladder, all of that.
And they tend to lose a lot of weight.
They do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Appreciate you. You're listening
to lovely day.
You too.
You're listening to Community Voice with Inside Be Healthy Be You. Miss Julie Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan, caller I see you. We're going to grab you right after the break. We'll be right back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money, providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the New Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are the New Pitts Mortuary.
Welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, brother. This is Rick calling you long distance from Germany.
Hey, Rick.
Is the sister still there talking about tuberculosis?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you discussed the phenomena of tuberculosis in the body outside of the lungs?
Oh yeah, it does.
In different organs.
Different organs. Yes. No, we did not.
I would like to add to your conversation by telling you that my family living in Washington, D.C., my mother and myself, as her eldest child, we suffered from tuberculosis of the bone, brain, and spine. And this because tuberculosis was orally fed to unsuspecting people up and down the East Coast and in the South. Oral ingestion of the bacteria, a souped up version of the bacteria under eugenics program of the 20s, 30s, and 40s, which extended into the 70s. And I think young people need to be tested, skin tested, blood tested, if there's a blood test for tuberculosis, because it's not just in the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
What part of DC did you live in?
I grew up in Southeast DC, but I lived quite a few places in the district: Tacoma Park, Silver Spring.
Yeah. No, I had actually I had classmates from my middle classmates were all from Northwest, but there were a couple of women that I knew who were from Southeast, right off Martin Luther King Boulevard there. They call it South Kakalaka, and but
it's Martin Luther King Avenue.
Sorry, thank you, sir. And I think the pastor there was it Willie Wilson, very prominent pastor down there in Southeast. That's the church I went to when they were doing the whole thing to make Dr. King's birthday a holiday. But the interesting thing that they did in D.C., though, you begin to see it after the riots, they began to direct black folks to the suburbs, primarily PG County.
Why?
Gentrification inside the district.
Oh.
When I got to Mount St. Mary's in 1976, you could go to Washington, D.C. You still saw New York Avenue where, the arena is and all that. Those buildings were burnt out. They still hadn't really recovered from the 68 riots. And they would say literally you could go 2 blocks from the Capitol and you be in the hood. But they began to expand the gentrification. And one thing they didn't do that I think was great was they didn't tear down the foundation of the homes. Yeah. So you were able to go in. And now you go to D.C. and D.C. is no longer Chocolate City.
Well, that's the racial issue, but the hospitals issue is a powerful one. There are very few hospitals that poor people can go to now. They all have to go to the Northwest, to the university hospitals. Howard University is still there, but there's the danger that Greater Southeast Community, which is called UMC now, that might close. And they've closed Providence Hospital up in Northeast. So black poor
they
people.
Closed DC General many, many years ago, right?
That's right. Right. DC General is a hospital I was poisoned in with intestinal parasites. But they knew they were going to close the hospital, and I would have no chance of finding those doctors, those black men in lab coats who gave me the pill. But hospitals and clinical testing for tuberculosis is critical. It's not just in the lungs, and poor people need to be tested. I'm done, folks.
I appreciate you, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with the TB and the other organs, it doesn't spread in the other organs to other people because it is airborne. But if it settles in those other organs, they usually do have some symptoms based on what organ is affected. And hopefully they're astute enough to test for that and look for that. But if it settles in the other organs, I'm not able to spread it to you, only if it's in my lungs. But we used to hear about that more and more. We don't hear, well, of course, we don't hear about it because we don't have that much of an incidence of TB in this country. But it is treatable. It's a bacteria, so it is treatable. And if, for example, we were talking off air, let's say, Keith, somebody that you're friends with has TB. And you find out, because you can be a carrier of it for a long time years, up to 10 years before you even before you develop the disease itself. You will then be, because had contact with that person for a period of time, they will then treat you for it so that you don't develop the disease later in life. So they don't wait for you to develop it. They treat you if they know you've been exposed.
Now, and I don't know if we mentioned this, was there a vaccine for tuberculosis?
No, there's no. It's a bacterium.
It's a bacterium.
There's very few. Yeah, most vaccines are for virus.
The difference between that, because a lot of people don't understand maybe the difference between bacterial and viral.
Yeah, I guess the basic thing is a virus got to run its course. It has a course to run. It may be a 10-day or a 14-day, but it has a course that it runs. And what we do is we treat the symptoms to try to keep us healthy during that time where our body's being attacked with that virus. Antibiotics don't work on viruses. They have a special little encapsulation where antibiotics don't work. Whereas bacterial infections, they continue to spread because the bacteria continues to grow. They don't have like a beginning and end kind of thing. They just continue to get worse and worse until they're treated, until you've been given the proper antibiotics for that bacteria.
And we don't give a lot of antibiotics out like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer that the body fights it. So we want you to build up your army, because we had started getting, we used to give out antibiotics for everything. And then they realized that the antibiotics were the bacteria was getting to where it's like, I ain't scared of you. And it wouldn't respond to the antibiotics.
I ain't scared of no dope.
Yeah. Right. And we do have, and there's some people that are on antibiotics all the time because they don't have a choice. But then, that breeds that resistance. So we have infections that are very, very difficult to treat if you get it, because you have to go to those, antibiotics. There's steps of antibiotics, and then different bacteria respond to different antibiotics. That's why, say, if you go in for a urinary tract infection, they put you on something right away. They may call you 3 days later and say you need to be on a different antibiotic because they culture that and look at it. Tetracycline used to be like, Lord, they just handed it out like candy.
Dr. Morningstar.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Morningstar.
Yeah. But we got like vancomycin and those are really hard on the body. And if you have to take those, a young, healthier person probably would do well. But if you're an older person or you've got other health issues, that's going to be those antibiotics are really hard on the body.
How important is it to make sure that as much as we can, that the cure is not worse than the disease? Mm-hmm. You hear about all these side effects because sometimes are we interjecting things in the body that's foreign to the body, and so the body's having a reaction to what we're putting into the body?
Well, and usually those side effects are often person specific based on their own health history and makeup. Like I can take you could take one of those drugs off TV where, now they have to list all those side effects. Julia takes it and soars through it and has no problems at all. I take it and a couple days I'm sick as a dog. And so then maybe they have to take me off of it. There's also treatments that they have to monitor blood work on a regular basis to see how your body's adjusting to that, whether or not you need to have, they need to take you off of it. Even some what we would think is as simple medications, like to treat toenail fungus, that medication, they have to check your liver values every month when you're on something like that. So sometimes the cure can, if it's a true cure, like look at chemotherapy. That's a good example where sometimes it's awful, but then the end result might be that you are cancer free.
Or the damage maybe radiation does, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. But you might be cancer free, but now you've got some side effects left over from the radiation. So you have to determine if the risk and benefit ratio for yourself. Your doctor's responsibility is to give you that information, and then you have to make a decision. You hear people with chemo going through rounds of it and then finally not. My dad, he wanted to take chemo, but after I talked to the doctor's like, your dad's such a nice man, and he was 89 years old. He says, I don't really want to see him be sick for the last days of his life. And so I had to sit and talk to my dad about it. And then he agreed that, yeah, no, I just want to take however many months I have left and enjoy those and not be sick from the chemo.
I just received a text from Lady T. She says, Keith, I contracted TB at age 3 along with spinal meningitis. Was in a coma for 2 weeks, almost died. I'm now 65. Thank you, Lord.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Chemo works by killing all new cells. So it's killing the cancer because that's usually the newest cells that are being reproduced in the body. Hair, that's why they lose their hair, because hair is constantly growing. So it kills new cells, and that's what comes with the stomach, with the nausea and vomiting and all that. So you want the cancer cells to be dead. You don't want them multiplying. So people give chemo a bad rap, and it is harsh, but it is fighting for your life.
And then you have some people go through chemo and they just sail right through it.
They don't have a problem. Go to work after taking it.
Right. So, a lot of that's why it's, again, having a primary doctor or the specialist you're working with, you need to talk to them about it, because if you just listen to the ads on TV, you're never going to take anything. You're going to be like freaked out. But they can break it down based on your health history, what you have going on, the risks and benefits of it. And most of the time, most people don't have those serious side effects that they list, so you can't let that scare you, but your doctor is the best one to be able to give you your specific scenario.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Hello again. I forgot one question for the ladies. Could you define the diagnostic process for tuberculosis, the difference between x-rays, skin test, and blood test?
Well, if it's a skin test, it will show, they inject you with the what is that term? And if it's positive, you will see an area that will show up red, or it'll be a raised area, so they could look at it after so many days. They would look at it, and they could tell right away if it was positive, and you would be able to tell too. But the X-ray, they take the X-ray and they can see it in the lungs. But the other part of I've never taken care of anybody that had TB in other parts of the body, but I know they can have it. But if it's bacteria, they can draw blood and tell.
And look at the bacteria in the blood. So when you get that TB skin test, if you've ever been exposed to TB, it's going to be positive. It doesn't mean you have active TB. That's why they're going to do a health history. They're going to go in and look at your lungs. Your lungs might be just fine. That raised test does not say you have TB. It says you've been exposed at some point. And so once you have a positive TB skin test, you're going to have positives forever.
Yes. So they usually would do a chest X-ray.
Yeah, if you had a positive skin, then they're going to do an X-ray. Now, based on your history and your interview, if you have a positive skin test and maybe you've worked in high-risk areas or been exposed to somebody, then the X-ray, even if it's negative, they're still going to treat you for it.
All right. Just wait. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I had a question. Earlier you were talking about seeing your primary care physician, and I just wonder how often people normally see the primary care physician. And because it seems like most of the people I know probably go once a year to get an annual checkup, unless they have some ongoing health problems. And it seems like there isn't really, I don't know that your primary care physician knows you, as well as it seems like people feel like they should have more information or more insight into what's going on with you.
Well, if you're healthy, then you see your primary care physician once a year. But if you have a chronic disease or if he's managing your chronic disease, usually it can be every 3 months or every 6 months. It just depends on what chronic disease that you have. But if you're healthy, a once a year should be able to do it. But if he still should be able to catch up on your history and know you, because of you getting your care from that health system. Most because you may have see other doctors, but they report to your primary doctor what they treated you for.
Yeah, and so when you go to see them, even if it's only once a year, when they pull up that record, they're seeing all the history that they have of you, previous blood tests, previous complaints, any symptoms you had, anything that you may have talked to them about, even though they may not look at you and remember right away, oh, that's so and so, and this. They do, my primary doctor and I were like, I can shoot her an email at any time, and we can deal with each other that way. But because we've been together a long time, and so she does know me, she knows me personally, and sometimes they even put hints in the chart about personal information about you so that it can be more personal. So, like Julia said, once a year is kind of, that's the minimum of what we should all be doing. Everybody should, because those annual exams, the basic blood work they do, doing your vitals, really tells them a lot about your state of health. And then they have that to, as you go forward to, even let's say you go in and your cholesterol is great. 2 years later, you go in, it's still normal, but it's really, really increased significantly. That's still something then that even though the lab work may say normal, your doctor's going to be saying, well, your cholesterol is really going up. And, these are some things that we can institute now to hopefully keep it from going up further. But, it still is nice to have that one place that you call, or if you're ill, you call, that you're more likely to get in if you're a primary patient there, as opposed to if you never go, but when they pull up your record, yeah, this is somebody we see on a regular basis. Another thing I want to say is sometimes when you call in, and Shakina says this all the time because she's, is an MA, she's worked in doctor's offices. If you call in and your doctor can't see you that day, but, maybe the nurse practitioner can, or maybe there's another doctor in the practice, but those nurse practitioners have more time. Sometimes they're underutilized. Don't be afraid to go to them, because whatever you're sharing, it's going to your doctor anyway. So don't be afraid to utilize them.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, Keith, how you doing, folks?
Hey, John, what's up?
remember yesterday I said, or the other day I said about the gold standard. Well, this in chemicals, in your lady friends over there might have aware of it, is the zapping that they do of the cells directly through radiation. They have all of these different metals, like gold, for instance, is one of the best, where they can redirect sunlight or artificial light, and they can zero in right on the cell. And thanks to these precious metals, they have such excellent reflectivity and filtering. They can really be precise and direct this down. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert at it in any form or fashion. So I recommend people start reading up. Just explore, and then when you get in there, it's more like an adventure. I'm not saying it's easy. God bless it. It's not easy. But I recommend it. And your lady colleagues there, are you guys aware of what I'm talking about?
Were you talking about radiation treatment, how direct it is now?
Yeah. They've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting better and better. Mm-hmm. And those and what I read about platinum is it's very dangerous sometimes, more than gold, but gold is a substitute, and sometimes gold works better than platinum for the platinum-based cancer drugs, because they can be really hard on you.
Yeah.
So get to know this stuff, and then when you finally talk to your doctor, then it's an actual conversation. What you guys were talking about right before I called was just exactly where I was going to go, but you helped clarify it, and that's just a perfect example, because you were conversing about it, and you helped me focus my own thoughts. Mm-hmm. And so we have to approach it the same way we do jazz. We approach sports. We get to know our sports. We get to know our jazz. But this is just one more thing. And this is our body. Mm-hmm. You know, guy can know all about his guitar, and you don't even know about his body. Or you know all about the, you know what I mean? So we have to take this seriously. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm just trying to pass my little 2 cents worth.
Mm-hmm. So I know I had a burn, a grease burn, and the podiatrist gave me silver nitrate, which is another metal. That and I wonder who figured it out, that you could take a metal, and that metal would have positive medicinal impact on healing.
Yeah, some chemist,
thousands of years of this,
looks at how it reacts. Yeah,
that hot grease. Ooh.
Oh yeah,
that's terrible.
This goes
on the top of your foot too, where there's very little skin.
Yeah.
They didn't even know why. They would find out they could put stuff in a bottle of like metal, and then they would purify it by having it in the metal container. This goes back thousands of years. They didn't know why. They just knew that it was preserved by having it in the metal.
A lot of medicine sometimes is trial and error.
Oh, almost all of it is trial and error.
Yeah.
That's why we have all these research groups,
We find out a lot from war, though.
Oh, yeah.
From war. Antibiotics came from war and World War II.
That's because in the Civil War, more people died from infection than they did from actual wounds, where the wounds get infected. So, all right, man, appreciate you.
Great. This was a great session.
Well, Miss Julia Meeks, Miss Brenda Buchanan, thank you. Debo, thank you.
Debo.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, so happy to have Debo with us today.
Jermaine, thank you.
Yes, Jermaine.
May the good Lord will and creek don't rise. We hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.
Thy loving peace